This one's probably going to be more than one part. Warning, warning, run away. Anyway, response to Matt and Nick. Lots of videos this morning. So the broadcast day begins. Really difficult to. I've got pages of notes, both sides of paper and everything. So anyway, I'll start sort of in the middle. All right, in responding to Matt. All right, Matt's a real problem for me. Yeah, Matt, I even listened to all your book videos. I mean, you're not your book. It's like a book. Your paper. So I mean, look, the fact is that you know, I can't let it go. I mean, you just have too much potential for me to just say, okay, yeah, it's cut it off. Don't let it get to you. But you do. I mean, now you make this little humble video like, okay, I'm just trying to find meaning, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. I mean, but label it that. Don't label it philosophy, because philosophy should be something a little more serious. So I guess I might as well bring up your paper in here. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I actually kept listening even though every bit of it was incomprehensible. I mean, because you can't even speak English, which is really irritating. I mean, I know you have this, but we have to use the scientific jargon of the jargon of the discipline. I don't think you have to. But, that's the way it's how all the elitists play the game, But anyway, but it's all this magic stuff. I mean, almost when you start talking about space-time as if it's relevant to something, that has something to do with evolution and how we got here. I mean, come on, it doesn't have anything to do with our existence in any real way. There's no it's just really the connection is so thin, it's just not there. All right, so anyway, let's get to this whole what philosophy is supposed to be. I mean, look, it's got to be about the truth. It's got to be about defining reality, describing reality. I mean, it really has to be. I don't see what else. It doesn't have any purpose otherwise. It's not about giving people meaning. That's something psychologists do. That's not something philosophers do. All right? I mean, psychologists work within a limited framework. They've decided that people should love living. We will make them love the living. We will make them functional in the society. They have a narrow mission. But philosophers have the wider mission of describing reality and explaining what the different parts of reality, what can exist without being a contradiction. What statements can be made without contradicting some other statement. It's like trying to find those kind of perfect statements that don't present any contradictions and don't conflict with any known other statement of truth. I mean, that's sort of what it's about. And it's got to be disciplined. You can't do it if you're going to sit there and say things like, I have to allow my subjective impressions to be part of my philosophical description. Well, it's appropriate to acknowledge the fact that you're a subjective creature and that you have subjective preferences and prejudices and desires. But it's not philosophy to say, I'm going to figure out some way to describe what I feel about something and somehow make it mean something. I mean, I could say, a woman is a beautiful thing. I mean, I might feel that. I might sense that. I mean, my disposition might say that. But I know there's no point in me objectively trying to find a rationale for that subjective impression, because it's not going to be there. It's completely made out of subjective desire. It's not made out of anything else. It's made out of a disposition imposed through an evolutionary process. It's not a statement of truth. It's a statement of my personal truth, but it's not a truth that can be applied as philosophy. So you got to make that separation. I mean, you can acknowledge what you are, which is subjective, and we can accept the fact that we can understand philosophically that things feel and that things do things. But you can't really. I mean, if you're, like I said, if you're going to open that door and let subjectivity corrupt the philosophy, well, it's not philosophy anymore. Then it's just bullshit. All right, then you sort of imply that, well, you don't imply, you kind of state that you have this kind of faith in nature or this faith in beauty. And, yeah, it just seems like an obvious thing that can be knocked down philosophically. I mean, that's not philosophy then. You're just saying that I'm a subjective being and I'm going to force my subjectivity, I'm going to rationalize it through philosophy. I'm going to defend my psychology with any mechanism possible. I'm just going to, so I'll use all the gappy language, I'll use all the gappy, anything I can find to shove confusion and nonsense into it so I can sit there and justify all my subjective bullshit. I mean, that's, like, again, you're just breaking the rules of philosophy, and that's what's got me angry. I don't want to have angry responses to you, but I mean, you are effectively selling something, and you're selling a perversion of philosophy, a perversion of intelligence, because it's like one of the first rules of philosophy is to recognize that we as philosophers are subject to being corrupted by our subjectivity, and if we're not even going to try to filter that out, well, then we're really fucked. Then another premise in your video was that somehow the robot scenario I gave, the reproducing robot, would break down and would not do the same thing that the life thing does. And you can't, again, you just break the rules. You sit there and say, oh, there'd be no change and no creativity. Of course there would be. There'd still be the potential for variation. And the fact of the matter is, we could even program it into the machine. Like I said, we could program failure into the machine, diversity, change, the potential for it, into the dynamic of the software. And these machines would go out into the world and do exactly what life does, because they would have the same program, consumption and reproduction. And they would acquire new tools and new weapons to be more competitive in that environment, to have their programming be the winning programming in the end. And that would be the end result. It would do the same exact thing that life has done. So they would become eccentric and creative and all that crap. What they might never become is conscious, because I think we can agree that's a really bizarre thing that has happened in our evolution. And then you said something like, the origin of life is not reproduction, it is self-production. So you keep these little things that you have built your philosophy out, these little keynotes and they're nonsense statements. I'm sorry, that's just not the way it works. We don't self-produce. I mean, a DNA molecule has the blueprint, and it works through the mechanisms of a cell that has, that divides itself, and that gives the new cell the tools to read that blueprint. And that's what keeps happening over and over and over, zillions and zillion times. But we don't self-create, Matt. All right, we're being created. We're being produced. We're being popped out like toasters or like microwave ovens or like any other product, okay, by a little production machine, a little reproducing machine. And we're just an extension of that. The production complex, the industry, the building of produce, or whatever you want to call it, has changed over time. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's creating more and more elaborate machines, bigger and better toasters. But that's all it's doing. We're built by something, and the something is not brilliant. I mean, the something has a very narrow and fucktarded agenda, okay, of just producing, period.